and in your ears with the podcast as well. This is WrestleZone. You are never alone when you're in the WrestleZone. So much to talk about. AEW set things up big time for All Out. Things got violent. The Dictator John made his presence known. Also, over on NXT, a big return was felt in the main event, setting up things for NXT TakeOver, plus fireballs. So the old cherished chestnut of a big old Memphis Heat angle, fireballs are back in wrestling. If you feel the heat and you're watching live, get your comments on screen. If you're with us on Facebook or YouTube, share the link or you stink. I am Kevin Callum, joining you live from Chicago, Illinois. I am not alone from the city by Three Rivers. All right. He is a man who we don't agree on a lot of things. All right. And I can tell you tonight, we will have some disagreements. I am certain of it. I saw some very provocative tweets. We will get to with Dominic D'Angelo with a very cool Happy Gilmore cup that you're drinking out of there.
Thank you.
Underrated, maybe the best golf film of all time. Maybe the best golf film.
Undoubtedly.
Other people chiming in with their different takes here. Tell us what you thought of NXT and AEW tonight. We'll cover those shows. We have some other big wrestling news, especially with one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, SummerSlam. We'll talk about that here in the next few minutes. But definitely want to give a shout out to people watching. If you're with us for the first time, we got people watching from Alabama, Roll Tide, War Eagle. Don't know where your sides are on the Bama issue. All right, if you may not even have. You may not even have college football this year. But we got plenty to get into on today's show. And of course, we're going to add another head to this three-headed Cerberus. The Cerberus. It's a three-headed dog from hell. Mr. Robert DeFelice is with us down there in the lower tier. Robert DeFelice, we're going to be talking about everything here. We will talk AEW first. We'll do NXT, but we have something big from WWE with SummerSlam. I'm going to go to you with this, Robert. We've been following this for a week and a half. SummerSlam is not going to be at the Performance Center. They're going to take it outside. We heard it was going to be in the Northeast. Dom, you and I talked about this last week that we thought it would be in Atlantic City, and that would be actually a pretty cool aesthetic backdrop is to see, like the Ferris wheel and New York City skyline behind it. But now, Robert, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Maybe it's going to be a little bit closer down to you in Tampa.
Well, Kevin, see, here's the thing. As plans will go awry, and the more we talk about this, the more we're just talking in circles. WrestleVote's very reliable source on Twitter tweeted, good news, bad news. SummerSlam will not take place in the Performance Center. However, there will be no fans in attendance. Source is still unsure on the exact location, as the Northeast possibility is now said to be iffy at best. So we are in a situation where we are just over 10 days away from SummerSlam, and we don't know where this thing is going to be held.
I did think it was odd on this week's Monday Night Raw, obviously one of the more watched shows for WWE, and SmackDown, which is currently their most viewed television show and performs the best for them in a lot of different demographics, network TV, that there wasn't anything really alluded to, even just teased. I think at this point, WWE could tease, hey, we're going to do something different with SummerSlam this year on television, and they haven't done it, which I think is fair because they don't know. Where they're at. And it is a fluid situation. I don't hold this against WWE that much because it is a situation that has so much law, so much regulation, so many logistical hoops with the COVID-19 pandemic. I did think at first their response to how they do the shows with certain outbreaks was I would say lacking just a bit, but they've certainly beefed it up. More testing. We heard the first week they did full-fledged testing. It was 1,500 tests. Obviously, they're testing people then multiple times. But then the moving it out of the Performance Center, this kind of controlled space you have, it gets a little bit more challenging. Dom, what do you think of them doing something here? We talked about a boat. We talked about a beach. Florida can add some fun summertime aesthetics to Sunshine State. I assume some people up in the Northeast have been sunbirds themselves a couple of times making it down there, correct?
Yeah, right. I mean, I think it's probably overall, if they're going to keep it in Florida, it's probably the best move to take, if you're trying to be more on the cautious, side of things. And, because, just traveling around right now, just with as much of the crew and everything that WWE has and that they would bring to do a big budget thing like SummerSlam to make it kind of stand out. Maybe keeping it in state would be a little bit more reasonable and a little bit more of the smart play, so to speak, to kind of, adhere to certain guidelines with and just taking the precautions of, the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still pretty prevalent, especially in Florida. So Robert,
you're following those numbers down there. Florida
is
more than a hot spot currently.
You don't gotta say that crap to me twice. I mean, it's not great over here, but at the same time, as we look at where the world is, right? So we're going back to school. People want their kids in school. They want option for them to be able to go back to some semblance of normalcy. AEW tonight highlighted the fact they have fans in the audience. Now, they've been doing this for a while, but tonight they highlighted it at the start of the show. And I think Vince McMahon will be damned if he's not out at the forefront of this, getting everything situated.
Well, can he find himself an amphitheater that is open air in the Florida area that isn't Daly's place?
He might be able to. I believe it was Dave Meltzer who tweeted, or not tweeted, but who put it in the Observer in the wake of the Florida staying open and declaring them essential, that Vince had Florida by the balls. So we will see if that is in fact true. If Vince McMahon does have Governor Ron DeSantis by the balls.
I have them by their grapefruits.
I
have the power. All of Florida, a state shaped like a dick, will be bent. It will be my genetic jackhammer. Disney doesn't run this state. The WWE universe does.
We saw a great visual representation of this when Dabba-Kato just grabbed that Raw Underground jabroni by the nuts and just that is what Vince McMahon supposedly has on Ron DeSantis. But we will find out as we get closer to SummerSlam Sunday. Now the question is, if it's in Florida, do I risk it all? Let's do a poll. Do I risk it all? Do I risk my life and well-being to go to SummerSlam?
Well, we can start a GoFundMe for you to get a big giant hamster ball and just be wheeled to the show.
Yeah.
He's kidding. Don't do that.
All right. So if you follow Robert on Twitter, follow him at Dude Felice. Am I correct, Robert?
That is correct.
And reach out to him for how we can get him in a big giant hamster ball, which they do exist. They do exist. The band Flaming Lips have used these during their live shows. So if you want to get Robert in a big giant hamster ball and we can wheel him to SummerSlam, maybe we wheel him down to Jacksonville and we just wheel you down, just put the hamster ball right by the ring, right?
It's quite the walk, but
maybe I don't know, maybe whoever wants to get on top, do a moonsault off the top of it. Come on, be a part of the show, Maybe even get in the ring, Robert. You can watch from inside the ring.
I might welcome that, Kevin.
If you are a fan of the idea of Robert being in a hamster ball live at a wrestling show in 2020, please hit that like button. Smash like and subscribe. Dominic hates that idea. We just lost Dominic.
Yeah. It's okay, Dom. Me too.
What do you think of this? Does this make the show more appealing for you to see it outside of the Performance Center? Obviously, it does make you think, is this safe? Is this the right thing to do? Is this logistically going to change things? Dom, I'll get your take on this, but Robert, you jump in first. Does it seem more appealing to bring the show, SummerSlam, a big show that a lot of fans look forward to, even if they're just casual fans, to bring it outside of the Performance Center? I say yes.
In theory, yes. For me, as a personally, I am such a fan of the idea of wrestling. Wrestling will never stop, and I think the summer of 2020 has taught me that wrestling will never stop because COVID could have slowed it down, and speaking out could have been this great time to just reel it all in. And hey, let's all take a month to reassess ourselves. Nah, we're just this hamster wheel to keep that ball going keeps on going, and it's shocking to me. But at this point, I understand that whether you're a biker in Sturgis, South Dakota, wanting to see Smash Mouth, or whether you're
Fozzy,
but Smash Mouth, Kevin, those are the all stars.
If you ask me which band I want to see more, I would choose Fozzy every day. Come on.
I mean, I think I would choose Fozzy as well. But really, that was about the bikers doing their thing, and Fozzy and Smash Mouth just happened to be there. You know?
Other people with different takes here, texting into the show live. And if you are with us live or watching on demand, go ahead and jump into the comments below. Let us know what you think of this here. If you're with us on the podcast side of things, we're not forgetting you. Go ahead and hit us up on Twitter at WrestleZone.com. I've heard some people say, oh, we're not involved in the show when it's live. Yes, you are. We're all in the zone together. Some people chiming in here saying, all I want is for it to be outside of the PC. And other people saying, stay in the performance center, stay in there. And then other people chiming in, like Russell, Big Rig Russell, texting in. To me, location honestly doesn't matter. It is what it is, but it's intriguing to mix it up. And then one person says, have SummerSlam at Walt Disney World.
No. You guys, we don't even know if it's going to be in Florida. It could be in Georgia. Georgia's been open since before Florida.
Yeah, and the case counts in Georgia are a little bit better than Florida right now. They're just a little bit better.
Barely, but yes.
They could get QT Marshall's gym, the undisclosed location gym that he was running Dynamite out of for quite some time there.
They could run it in Vince McMahon's backyard.
That would be awesome.
Let's not pretend that Shawn Michaels doesn't have land in Florida.
Vince probably runs a lot of Connecticut, right? He probably owns. And after talking Shopomania, I would not be opposed if they told me that they were doing a wrestling show in Vince McMahon's backyard and they just said it's going to be at the McMahon estate. That would legit. Robert, you said that as a joke, but Dominic, you're smiling with me. I would legitimately be on board for that. If they did it as like a barbecue and they just said, we're just going to have, it's only going to be WWE people here and we're going to have it separated. And here's the wrestling area. And here's a big, like 100-yard area. I looked at what Warrior Wrestling did this past Sunday at Marian Catholic High School in the South Suburban area of Chicago. Kudos to them because they did a wrestling show. It was one of the first shows I saw where social distancing was the appeal of coming to the show. It was a giant high school football field under the lights, complete open air. Everyone had a 15-foot area to themselves. Every single group of people. And all the performance, referee, ring crew, everyone had a face mask on. I knew people that were doing commentary for the show. They were wearing a face mask during the show. I would hope that AEW and WWE would look at how this was done and looked at the protocol of it and looked at the spacing. And if I'm an athletic commission, listen, the world's going to try and do stuff now. And I think we're in this kind of foot down until we get to a vaccine place with things, which I think is the wrong way to go, but it's the way things are going. And if we can just mitigate those risks as much as possible, I'm down for it. I do feel SummerSlam can be done outside of the Performance Center in a safe way, just like AEW has been doing their shows in an amphitheater and with stringent testing, and they control the compound too. That idea of being at Vince's backyard, Robert, you don't even know what you just did there. We're going to roll you in a hamster ball in Vince McMahon's big backyard. You have a lot of green space. We'll have Tucker and Otis just throwing you back and forth like a beach ball. It'll be a fun time.
I would gladly take part in those vignettes.
And
I would do.
And Vince couldn't shove you in a pool because you're in a hamster.
no, he could throw a ball in the pool and then it's used
Robert, you gotta take a splash.
Get over here, Robert.
Come on, Robert.
No, and then I'm used as a floaty for his grandchildren. Little Stephanie and Hunter are just it's just a weird thing.
The pool toy. Oh man, let's get into what actually happened on wrestling on a Wednesday night. If you're with us, let's get into first, just do it of alphabetical order. There is no bias. Okay, we always just choose. We start with the A's, then we'll jump over to the N and the X and the T's. Okay, so let's talk about AEW. This is Tag Team Appreciation Night. We had a bunch of tag team appreciation across the board. We had some wild angles. We did have some fans coming into the show with a lot of preconceived, they better do this thing, or if they don't do it, I'm going to get on Twitter and say a lot of angry statements. We had a lot of resentment, a little bit brewing resentment. I wouldn't just say a lot of it. I would rather refer to it as brewing. But Don, tell me about the big things, takeaways from tonight's All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, I would probably say, Orange Cassidy getting the win against Jericho was big. The tag team appreciation segment between Tully, Arn, FTR, the Young Bucks, and the Rock and Roll Express was another big takeaway because FTR really began to show their heelish roots and kind of teased a little bit of an alliance maybe with Tully happening. And the other big moments, just takeaways, I think just the having like even a little part aspect of having Mike Chioda in the mix of things was kind of cool, and just seeing like a seasoned veteran referee back in the mix was pretty neat. And then Mox and MJF did their part too with their interesting thing and keeping things going in that. So those were probably my like 3 or 4 big takeaways from the whole thing. I would say the show, maybe it's different because I'm doing the coverage now, the live coverage as I'm watching. It didn't hit me as usual as the usual episodes do of Dynamite. So but overall, what I was able to kind of gather while I'm writing was I liked it. It was a good show for what it was. It wasn't.
You mean that doing the live coverage makes it hit different, Dom? Is that what you said?
I think it kind of does. Robert, did you kind of
hey boys,
that too?
Leave the inside baseball. Explain this because it has to be known. Dominic.
No, I can explain it.
Go ahead.
I used to do the live coverage for AEW. I asked Dominic last week. I said, "Hey, man, you're doing the 2 Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes every Friday on the podcast feed. Wink, wink.
That's right.
And, go ahead and take over the Dynamite coverage for me, and I greatly appreciate it. But tonight, I got to watch wrestling fast and loose as a fan and not, staunchly focused on every move that they're doing. And I think that made it a lot easier for me to just go, I like this. I didn't like this. I really like this because I'm just watching as a fan. There's no attachment for me there.
There's plenty of times I feel like, I'd like to click over to AEW and see what they're doing. But I know because I'm doing the show afterwards, I have to watch NXT live. And then we're on here, minutes after the show is done because that is the pace of the internet. You guys, we're on the internet. That is our medium. That is the master that we serve, and we serve at that pace. So a lot of people come on and watch the post shows, especially on Wednesday nights and Thursdays, and people say, "Oh, Kevin, you hate AEW and you are horny for WWE." I can say I am rock hard. All right. I am whatever Blue Chew that comes from the general Stamford, Connecticut area that is raised there just fills my little Kevins with blood.
Kev, I believe those are called Jerry Springers up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They call them crotch gas down in the South, right? So I would say with me, it's just like I always have to watch one of the shows. So I like hearing from people that are clicking back and forth now too, but I know I just don't have the energy to do that. I saw some things online tonight with AEW where there were some fans who were like, "Oh, why isn't this happening?" or "Why isn't this here?" I did see a lot of people mentioning that Tony Khan's on camera. Did you guys see Tony Khan back behind? They weren't even paying attention to what John Moxley said on TV. It was just like, Tony Khan was drinking a coffee behind John Moxley. And it's like, he's not an on-screen character. This means nothing. This is just somebody in the crowd. Nothing. It is absolutely pointless. But some people love to say some different things. Dom,
you said that. I didn't even see Tony Khan back there. I just was like, when I was writing, I was like, oh, Moxley's in Gorilla, I'd imagine. I was like, I wonder if Tony Khan's back there. And I was like, yeah, probably not. But so I think it's kind of cool they didn't address him back there, at all. It's, he's not a character, but it's kind of neat that you do see him back there because he's kind of doing his whole thing back there. So
let's dig into the meat and potatoes of this tag team appreciation night because that was the gimmick going into the show. And we have FTR and the Young Bucks in the ring with the Brainbusters, On Nxt and Tessa Blanchard, and the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson. And it starts out as this giant love fest of the Young Bucks are like, thank you, and you inspired Sean and Marty and Matt and Jeff. By the way, bold moves.
They bring up Marty.
I know, right? I was like, whoa,
hey, not the week to bring up Marty, pal. You might disappear.
Anywho, there and Dax and Cash, they cut a promo about how Dax is like, I get to provide for my little girl and the wife that I love because of what you four guys paved the way in tag team wrestling. And I really dug that. And then,
you guys wore satin jackets. We wear satin jackets. Thank you.
Essentially. And then Ricky and Robert get on the mic and they're like, we love what you guys are doing with tag team wrestling. Arn Anderson gets on the mic and it's like, the Young Bucks have taken it to just a different stratosphere. And I have no problem saying FTR is the best tag team in the world. And Tully fucking Blanchard gets on the microphone and just, I don't give a shit. Like, this guy is, I don't know how old, but Tully Blanchard cut a promo that made me give a damn. Tully Blanchard got in everybody's face. He took the microphone away from Ricky and said, "Don't you start something tonight that you can't finish." And then he looks at the looks at FTR and he says, "Both of you suck. You don't have the belts. You don't just come out here talking about how you're the best because you feel like it. Where are the championships?" Tully slaps Ricky Morton. He tells Arn Anderson, "I've had a problem with you since last Labor Day, since you had the audacity to stick your nose in my guy's business in a match with Cody Rhodes." He says, "I have a problem with this," pointing to the Nightmare Family patch on Arn's sweater. And out comes Sean Spears. Arn Anderson says, "I see where this is going. I'm leaving." Sean Spears is out, distracting the Bucks, and FTR take off the knee brace, beat up the Rock and Roll Express. They're heels now. They leave. I'm almost certain that one of the pre-tape matches will be FTR against the Rock and Roll Express. That should be a damn fine time. And I thought this was the best segment because, God, it made me care. It made me care. Am I wrong here, boys? Like, was this not the best segment on TV tonight?
It was probably the best segment. Like, for the, I can't speak for NXT because I did not see a lick of it. But yeah, for the Dynamite, I would say that like Tully really just MVP of the night for the Dynamite was Tully.
How old is Tully Blanchard? Anybody know off the top of your head?
He's got to be in his late 50s, early 60s. Mid late 60s.
Best thing done tonight. And we went into the show and everybody's talking about Scorpio Sky. Everybody's talking about other things. Tully Blanchard ran away with the show because when you're good on the mic, that is just what you do. The simplicity of just talking about the importance of winning championships. That is what professional wrestling is about. It's not about high spots. It's not about, deathmatch tournaments.
It ain't about your flippy doos. It ain't about your 5 kickouts on a finisher. Kicking out of a pile driver on one.
I know it sounds like I'm doing a cornet bit.
The ring rat seat's wet. Come on, man. Come on. It's about getting a fat ass.
Dude, this is like this is WrestleZone podcast underground.
It's about filling the towns. Come on,
listen. I know it sounds like I'm doing a cornet bit, but Kevin, you're not Brian Last. Dominic Damster isn't Stephen P.
Come on, corn dog it. Corn dog it.
I'm not saying that I don't like the Young Bucks, but I am saying,
Robert, I love you. I'm just busting your balls.
I know what you're doing. I had no problem playing along with the bit, but I'm letting the people know that they need to watch this match. They need to watch this segment. Like,
some people disagree with this here. John Kirby
said, "Wow, worst segment tonight."
Yeah, he texted in saying worst segment tonight on AEW.
John, I'm going to allow you to further explain yourself. I would like you to write in the comments why you feel this way. I have no problem debating you about why characters, even if they're older, they matter because now you know why people are going to fight. Like, this is why we brought Tully. This is why we brought Jake the Snake. This is why we brought in Arn. We need to know why these guys want to fight. And I think sometimes that gets lost in the translation with all the flippy dudes.
Listen, flippy dudes sound delicious. They like if we had a wrestling restaurant.
Two Dynamite dudes was that
sorry, Dom, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Oh, that's okay. Young Bucks need to I think Young Bucks really need to showcase themselves kind of like they do on Being the Elite in a lot of ways because they got a personality and like you don't see that too often on Dynamite. You kind of got a little bit of it tonight, but you need a little bit more of it. And as they're one of the top tag teams, and they got to take more of an opportunity, I think, to do that. And with all this stuff happening, maybe they'll get a little bit more of that shot to do so, and kind of get back to the forefront of things as one of AEW's cornerstones for their stars. So just think up there with that.
I'm getting some questions here about Kevin Owens. I'm getting some questions about different things in NXT. Don't worry, we will touch off on some of those things here. We will answer your questions.
I want to just further put over the fact that when pro wrestling is good, and when pro wrestling has things that you care about, like Scorpio Sky saying, I'm not going to wait for my opportunities, I'm going to kick the door in, and then he gets in there and tears the house down on Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes still beats him, because Cody's still got some work to do with that TNT Championship, which, by the way, is finally completed. I thought this was another fantastic segment. I did not like Brody Lee just sort of rummaging through the garbage, getting the other TNT title and being like, yeah, we're going to fight on the, was it the Saturday Night Dynamite?
Yeah, Saturday Night Dynamite.
I saw that. I was like, who thought that, like, picking a title out of the trash is a good idea?
That's how Jim Duggan became the last WCW television champion.
Yeah, and it wasn't good then, and I didn't think it was good tonight.
He's like, Brody Lee's like George Costanza in Seinfeld with the Eclair.
He double dipped his chip.
Right.
So we're getting Brody versus Cody here, and it felt like Scorpio Sky was kind of like glossed over, and they built.
Yeah, I got that vibe too, Kev. I got that vibe too.
I also, mind you, like I said, I'm just kind of looking at what fans are saying tonight. A lot of fans felt like underwhelmed by this. They thought they were going to get like a real barn burner tonight. I also thought AEW would give that to fans to say like, hey, we know we're not going to be on Wednesdays the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that because they're going to get preempted by NBA basketball the next couple of weeks, and they're going to have to move the show to Saturdays, and this is going to be a real challenging thing for them. And that's why I also thought there was a lot more pressure on this specific AEW show tonight to get that fan base that is tuned in, that has said, we're only going to watch AEW on Wednesdays. And we're so proud to be, we're all elite. They're buying the shirts. They bought into the mantra and the cult-like concept of what it's becoming. And I thought we would get some kind of like barn burner match. Like, hey, we give you this on TV, and we didn't get that. Is that underwhelming to you? Because I like I said, on the surface, I was like, oh, that's going to be a banger. And it really just felt like more of just a thing to get to Brody Lee and Cody.
Yeah, no, Kev, I kind of feel the same way in a lot of ways. It was a good match, and I love Scorpio Sky, and I honestly thought like, oh man, he should really get the win here and take the belt kind of. And it kind of almost set up for that because like Cody came out with the Nightmare Family, all this kind of like pomp and circumstance with it all. And, Scorpio Sky just went out by himself, and, he was just the solo man there. And so I thought it like really set up, okay, they're really this could be the setup for the upset happening, like Scorpio Sky pulls it out, gets the win and starts defending the title. But that didn't happen, obviously. But yeah, no, Kev, I thought like the way the match was executed, it was a good match, but it wasn't like, holy smokes, that was something else. And I want to see these two lock it up again. It was more so, it was a good match. It's something that, builds the legacy towards Cody's, run with this title and everything like that overall. But like, I wanted to see like just something, boom. I wanted it to really pop at me, and it didn't necessarily pop at me to that level. So, but I do love Scorpio Sky, and I thought he did a nice job. And like the storytelling aspect of it all was very well done, I thought too. But just nothing that was like, whoa, like kind of what you mentioned is like really popped me out of the chair.
And like when they've pulled the Scorpio Sky card of, hey, we're going to take Scorpio out of the tag team, put him in a big singles match. They had that great match with Chris Jericho, and that was the night before Thanksgiving. People loved it, and we're talking about it so much. And so I kind of thought maybe they're going that direction again, or at least trying to get to something like that, almost like an RVD back in the early 2000s, where they were always going to pull the trigger with him and do something with him, and there was always a groundswell for that. So tell me about the other big notes here on tonight with AEW. We had a little bit more friction, and more than that, between Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. Tell me about this.
Yeah, I thought that I think, besides Tully, I think Orange Cassidy was the standout star too as well. Just he's shown this before with Pac and just even like in the little segment last week with Jericho in the debate, just that fire, that fighting spirit he has. I very much like that. Oh yes. I like that one. But no, I feel Orange like really just set himself to that level of like what you want to see as like, a featured star on AEW. And Jericho, him getting the win over Jericho, I think will be big for him and a good feather in his pocket, so to speak. So I liked it. I thought overall it was a good main event. The finish was a little but overall I thought it was a really well done match and a good way.
I'm looking here at the hashtag AEW Dynamite trending once again, and fans were like, "What was that ending?" There was a lot of like question marks on that ending.
It was a little shaky, but I think the point still got across, and it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't perfect, obviously, but it wasn't like, oh my god, it ruined the match or anything like that. So it was just a little wobbly of a finish, I would say.
Robert, some people texting in here saying that you in a hamster ball should dethrone Cody for the title.
I want to thank those who want to see me get in the ring in a hamster ball in particular, but I have no desire. I may consider taking a booking against Nick Gage at the next GCW show in a hamster ball. I feel
you
like
inside the hamster ball.
I feel like I may be
hamster
safe.
ball. Is it something that light tubes could puncture? Or is
It's a hamster. It's a hamster monster's ball, or is it a monster hamster's ball?
You know what? I don't know if light tubes could puncture it, Dominic, but I'm willing to try for the loyal WrestleZone.
Dude, it's gonna be like when you see the riot footage and they're all trying to like break through a glass, like those big, huge Teflon glass doors to get something here. Oh, great. Robert, what have I done? I'm so sorry.
It's a beautiful thing we have here.
Oh, we've created a monster. Next SummerSlam, we're gonna have Robert in a hamster ball.
Boy, that'd be quite the execution there.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, what are the other big developing stories you see here coming into AEW All Out? Kind of a tough time for them to have these TV shows get preempted off Wednesdays, moved to Saturdays. Pay-per-view coming up on the 5th of September. Tough scenario for them to work around here. Do they get bit by this? Is it something you think they gracefully maneuver around? I think it could go either way. This is a really hard circumstantial challenge that isn't drawn up by AEW. It's just the NBA. How do you, come on, you know what I mean? How do you get around the NBA?
Like, what are you going to do? I feel they can maneuver. And, I think overall from a perspective, I think they'll see somewhat of a drop, honestly. But I think they'll still be able to keep their head above water and do respectable numbers overall for it. Because I think the fan base is there and, they will tune into Dynamite. It's not like, we're still in the pandemic.
Saturday night is a hard night for TV.
It's a hard night, but you know what? We're still in a pandemic.
Sure.
It's not like you got bars you can really go to or restaurants you can really go to.
Depends on where you are. It really depends on where you are. And it varies.
Yeah, it definitely does. So, I mean,
especially when you see the show performing so well in southern states and along the mid-Atlantic. You look at some of the demos, you look at some of the response. We can kind of see it on socials a little bit. Also, you haven't seen AEW go to the West Coast a whole lot, so because they do have that. There is always that West Coast always picks up something later on because of the time difference. We have some people texting and saying, I love being in California because I can watch both shows in one night. And there's plenty of people that say that. So there is that challenge there as well. I think it's a tough scenario. I worry for AEW, and I don't blame them for being in the spot you're in bed with TNT. Do want to talk about this. We will talk about the big return on WWE NXT, but just in terms of those peripheral issues that affect them. We brought up TNT. TNT is the biggest thing to ever happen to wrestling since the WWE Network and bringing in AEW. But this week we learned some very unfortunate news. A huge shakeup at Warner Media. Warner Media is the parent company that owns TNT. They also own TBS. They own Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, and have launched and own through Direct TV. They own HBO, huge platform. They own DC Comics. They own Warner Brothers Studios, Warner Music. It's a huge conglomerate to be in bed with. But they don't own AEW. They simply have a TV rights contract with them, no different than what they have with the NBA. But the issue here is the main executive at Warner Media, who really waved the flag of AEW in those boardrooms and got them going in Atlanta and got Warner Media, a company that once was deep into the pro wrestling game. He was their guy on the inside and was very much friendly with one Tony Khan, who was bankrolling it as a pre-production thing, building up to it. So the issue, though, is Kevin Riley no longer works for Warner Media, and he is one of several big names that were ejected from the company and a huge shakeup from the top down. And this is because of the performance of HBO Max, their streaming platform. A lot of big companies are trying to do this, almost like what WWE did like 6 years ago. And WWE's in a very, people ask me, well, the ratings are so bad. How come WWE's making so much money? Because they have like 1.8 to sometimes 2 million people giving them $10 a month direct to them. Like they own all of their stuff. So this is why you see Disney doing this. Like the physical media is in a tough spot. Going to get people to go to movies and different things, like tough spot. But people still want it. Wrestling will always make money off live events, just like Disney makes money off theme parks. So why am I bringing this up? Why am I bringing up this Kevin Riley guy and all this stuff? Kevin Riley kept him in there. And if anything was going to get an AEW big time show on HBO Max, which fans wanted, right? He would be the guy to really help them do that. Now they're still doing what? $50 a pop for the pay-per-views that they're going to have coming up. All Out is going to be a pay-per-view. And so it is a tough situation, though they do have a TV contract. Cody tweeted they will be fine. It won't be an issue. We heard that Bullet Club was fine, and they played that up as a storyline. I don't know if you should be worried right now, but if this show is staying where it is in 2023, in terms of ratings numbers, still performing nicely for a demographic, I would be concerned. AEW's got to get that show double what it is in about a year and a half from now when they're at the TV table contract negotiations, because they're going to be talking to completely different people, and one of them is not going to be Kevin Riley, who brought it in and really negotiated just for what it is. They do really well in terms of price compared to what you're spending on WWE. But if I'm them, I do think you do have to grow this. And there is kind of, I wouldn't call it like a ticking time bomb. I wouldn't say that. That's too much. But there is a little bit of pressure now, because now you have to perform on those numbers and those numbers alone, not on relationships. And you're competing against WWE, which has been on television for like 40 years. And like people know the name. So it is a tough situation. Robert, what do you think here? Kevin Riley no longer in Warner Media. How bad does this hit them here? And then we're going into this NBA shuffle here as well.
Well, I think it's a scary time for them because he was a part of their certainty, but they're doing tremendous numbers. They're matching, and I believe even beaten Raw in the 18 to 34 demographic, which is much better than the way too far of spectrum 18 to 49 demographic, in my opinion. And I think AEW is doing great. They understand what they have. The only way that this is bad for them is if whomever is taking over is just like, I hate, like if we have a literal WCW where they're just like, I hate wrestling. Yeah. I don't want to look at wrestling. This is disgusting. Why did we bother wasting time on this product?
But mind you, it's a completely different company from what it was 20 years ago. I love when people bring up, well, they had it before. No, I mean, it's works there now.
But it's only funny because like they literally, like I made this joke in our group chat. Like we've skipped to the end where the TNT exec that likes wrestling has been moved out, and we're already at the end of the story.
We did that in less than a year. Yeah.
It's an amazing, funny thing, but it's also scary. But I think AEW will be fine, if nothing else, because they can just, if they were really like, oh, but we don't like this, they can take their ball and go somewhere else. They can go to the Paramount Network. They can go to anywhere they want, because they're not owned by Warner, which is the key difference between them and WCW.
People love that media talk. They love those media numbers. This is worth noting. Raw this week performed very well in competition against NBA and Major League Baseball, which shows how different things are in 2020 in terms of routines and people watching shows. And that is one thing I think that you can put that asterisk next to anything that comes out now. Like if it does really well, it's like, well, you're in the pandemic and people were at home, and now Disney Plus out of the box gets 60 million subscribers. HBO Max, oh, you guys launched. Disney Plus got to it first. They got that. Netflix got 10 million new subscribers. WWE Network holding steady with what you got. Oh, okay, all right. In terms of subscription based stuff, and then you look at the demo numbers and things moving around. It's very hard to call the game right now in terms of media, and wrestling works in that. The most profitable thing in wrestling right now is TV rights contracts, especially when they're not doing shows. And both companies, AEW, WWE, trying to do this. We now know that Ring of Honor will start taping television before the end of the month, and they will be doing that in Maryland with testing and protocol in place. So more people getting back in the TV game with wrestling, understanding that is still a staple. But these are challenging and uncertain times that we live in, aren't they?
You know what though? But to your point, where you're like making a voice and doing like the old timey reporter thing, is it to a point now where people are just like, yeah, we get it, COVID's a thing. Can we just get back to normal? And I think people are at the point where they just want to start doing that. Ring of Honor is going to be filming in Maryland. I saw over here in Florida, schools are starting up again. And I saw a little child say, it's just the new normal, and I'm used to it, and like it's okay. And
it's freaky when you talk to kids and they're okay with it.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, bro, your teacher
isn't it
is wearing
dumb? Like when you see a kid just wearing a mask, he's like, "Oh, sir, you gotta put your mask on." I saw a little kid do that at a grocery store the other day.
That's great.
And like the mom was like, yeah, give the kid a thumbs up, and the old guy was like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." He's like, "Put his mask on," and I was just like, "This is a child."
I think they got the kids. The kids are used to it, so like if the kids are used to it, we're screwed because no, there's no going back.
We're fucked. I understand. I get it. Hopefully that doesn't get us in trouble on YouTube, by the way. People who screen stuff at YouTube, we just acknowledge reality, so please don't get mad at us for that.
Another thing I do want to get into, the situation with AEW's women's division. Now,
they got some heat. We haven't even talked about NXT yet, but I don't mind dipping into this. I was going to stay away from it.
I didn't even hear what you were saying, Robert. What is it?
The women's division. Now, this is something, the women's division of AEW.
Oh, the women's division. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Robert.
So this is something that, now that you're watching AEW more closely, you're going to have to follow a little bit more. People are upset. People are bothered by the fact that the women don't get a lot of love on AEW Dynamite. And I want to get your guys' take because I've talked about this ad nauseum in recent days. And I want to know where you guys stand and how you feel about the women's division being utilized.
Well, go ahead, Dom. You are covering this every single week. Every Friday, we drop that Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes show. It is available in the podcast feed to get everything we do. And I know that you and Marcus have kind of covered this, and it is something that has been developing, but it did feel like it kind of blew up online, and online is where the discussion is. We aren't getting those fan pops, right? So tell me about this.
Yeah, so I mean, I've watched both the Deadly Draw episodes, and they have characters on there, and they have people that they can establish as some highlight points for their women division. But to be honest, the matches themselves aren't something you want to put on your mainstream television product at the moment. They're a little bit stilted and certain in execution and stuff, and you don't. It's a good putting them on YouTube initially is a good platform to start off on. Obviously, from the beginning, AEW made the note that they're wanting to build their women division and make it a prominent part of their product. And if you look back on it, they should have executed it. It took a lot more opportunities to either build new stars or sign certain talent to establish that fact. They didn't do that. Mm-hmm. But what they're doing now with their current roster is, I think, the appropriate way to handle it. And I understand that people are like, you got to feature the women on the mainstream product. And you only got a short match tonight between Akira Shida and Heather Monroe.
How much time did they get?
Not
people had their clock out this week.
Did they clock it this week? Was it longer than 3:51 or what? What are we doing?
It was so short. And you know what? I could understand the blowback that they get this week for that. But if you do watch a Deadly Draw and you just keep certain things in perspective about like, okay, the people that they have, like Dasha, I thought she had a great personality and something that can be definitely grown with. But, to put that on your mainstream television product on prime time when you're competing against another product, it's a smart move not to put it on there at the moment in time.
I do want to note that Dasha's enthusiasm on Monday's episode of the Deadly Draw tournament was akin to like Melissa Joan Hart and Clarissa Explains It All. She was so excited to be like, I'm gonna wrestle. Oh my God, this is awesome! Like you would have thought they told
Why did you get all nasally, Robert? You got all nasally.
Oh,
I'm gonna wrestle.
Is that not exactly what she did? I'm gonna wrestle. I was like, okay, she's excited. She was not polished, but you know what? I'm not going to knock that too much because, I'm glad she's getting the opportunity to wrestle. The problem is they bet the farm on foreign talent. Nobody could have seen COVID coming, but I think they got hit pretty hard. Now,
and they got hit by injuries as well, right? They got hit by some pretty legitimate injuries.
Britt Baker has an injury. Chris Statlander has an injury. Two of their prominent American talents. I did the Rest Friends podcast on Monday, and Teddy Chavez put it perfectly. She said, I'm starting to feel about AEW's women's division as I used to about the Divas before Give Divas a Chance.
Yep.
Now, where does that tell you that AEW's women's division is?
That would tell me it's bordering on lip service. So it's not there yet because obviously they're doing the women's Deadly Draw tournament, but it doesn't shine the light keenly, and some of it is circumstantial. But I would say the backlash is based on we told you were going to get this. And you are not getting what we told you were going to get. And this is the first time I think AEW is in this position. They've done it once or twice, but it was certainly more based on the COVID and the pandemic and different things like that. But, some people came as, we're going to be sports driven. And then they went and did very much like, we're going to do the Attitude Era in 2020. And we're going to try and do it without all the politically incorrect things. And they went that way in terms of general vibe and content. And then we're going to give you real women's wrestling. All right. Oh, yeah, they definitely did that. I've been to 3 live shows, saw great matches, right? I agree with Dom's point that you can't put matches out there that aren't up to par. And some of your more talented women, like Chris Statlander, are injured. Penelope Ford simply isn't there yet. And then the other talent you have are more character driven, like a Brandy Rhodes. I'm taking a shot. I don't think Brandy Rhodes is going to be your women's champion before the end of 2020. I'm not being out of line by saying it. Maybe she puts herself in one of those matches or something like that. But you have a lot of things with the women that have not hit. The Nightmare Collective was the first immediate, let's pull the plug on this thing. That was done in months. As a faction built around women being evil. All right. So that was done and written off. They even ended it on Dark on YouTube. All right. So, and I'm not saying these things to be overly critical. It's just, that is what it is. You can see it on the surface. The women are not featured the same way, yet we're told they are. All right. And then you look over what WWE does, even now on their main roster. I watch Raw. More than half the show was women. More than half the show was women featured prominently, not just chasing titles, with their own personal feuds. Shayna Baszler had her own platform Raw this week. NXT overnight tonight had 3 different matches where they were featured. And the women were featured prominently, not just chasing titles, creating their own issues, being their own character. Robert Stone manages only women on NXT. He is a complete supporting buffoon comedy character. And he is just there to make other people look cool. And I think if you're telling me that AEW is doing what they say they're going to do for women right now, unfortunately, they want to, but they're not meeting that standard they've set for themselves and they've set with the fans. AEW heels, I'll say this, AEW heels, I think is a great idea. I love the idea of it. And I think the explosion over that was unnecessary.
I agree.
I feel the backlash at Brandy Rhodes was just, you're the woman. We know you have power. How come you're not doing this for other women? And you're asking us for $5 for this thing where we get exclusive access to talent. You're getting exclusive access to talent, and this is talent that is new, that needs that exposure and needs a personal connection, and you want to do something that is smart, like they've started to do in Japan. They've started to do this in Japan now, and they've done a great job with developing female wrestling fans. They are the fastest growing contingent of wrestling fans that are women, that represent the LGBTQ community. They are there. I see them, I hear them, I feel them at shows, and I want them at WrestleZone because I feel that anyone who loves wrestling should be here. If you're a 5-year-old kid and you were up really late watching this on YouTube, God bless you. Turn the lights out. Don't get in trouble. Okay. I don't want to tell you. All right. So, but here's the thing. I think when you say you're going to do that, you have to meet a certain standard. But at the same time, Dom, you make a great point. If you don't have the players there to play the ball, we're just going to put out a product that is going to be underwhelming. And people are going to look over at NXT and say, look what they got. Now, the problem is you can't even compare, because if you try to compare them, it would be laughable. Like, it would be laughable to say this. I think more people can tell me who all the women's champions are in WWE right now and who their favorite WWE female superstars are now than any of them on AEW.
I'll be that guy. I can tell you who all the women's champions are because they're all the same person. It's just Sasha and Bayley.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like, they can tell you who their favorites are in WWE like that. I don't know if you get the same thing with AEW.
Here's the thing with,
and then we can, like, I know we've been dragging the AEW discussion out a bit, but
I'm being told we have enough AEW talk. Don't worry, we'll get to it, DJ.
Let's hire a little Swole. Let's hire Nicole Savoy. She could be women's champion for you tomorrow. Let's get to All Out with Sheeta and Big Swole and Britt Baker in a 3-way. That would be a damn fine wrestling match. You know,
there's a good one here from a real wrestling insider. I can tell you this guy knows his way around the business. Jay texting here saying Tessa Blanchard is the key to AEW's division survival. I think Tessa Blanchard. What?
AEW has positioned themselves as super progressive, super
woke.
You know, woke? I'm getting a little tired of that word,
Robert.
I'm getting a little tired of that word. Didn't want to use it, but yeah, super woke. Tessa Blanchard's been accused of some rotten shit. No proof has come up, but they have said in the past that she has said some racial slurs in the ring, and I don't know if AEW wants to touch that.
So, it obvious, like looking at, like I said, at Deadly Draw and the matches that they had. The players to establish a women's division is there, and the diverse from a culture perspective, an ethnic perspective, everything like that, they have kind of laid out there. Like, you have Evilise, you have Little Swole, you have Big Swole, you have Britt Baker, you have Penelope Ford, you have all just a certain amount of players that you can put in and establish, but they're not there quite yet. The majority of them. Evilise is one exception. You know, Diamante's pretty good up there too, for the most part, I would say. But you like the ball needs to be rolled a little bit more for them to kind of like really flourish. It's circumstantial. It's there, but the onus is on AEW ultimately to. They said they were gonna have this already set up for the women's division, and people were excited for it. I was excited to see what they were going to do initially when this whole thing launched too, and how they were going to what talent they were going to sign, what talent they were going to bring in, and it all kind of seemed like they really pumped the brakes on it throughout their whole run so far on Dynamite. But it's circumstantial as well, so it's a very gray area, I would say, ultimately. But ultimately, too, onus is on AEW for having this and not running with it too.
I would say it's the biggest problem they've created for themselves in one way or another. Let's get into WWE NXT. They had a game show tonight. Let me just tell you, I watched NXT live and I didn't feel like I had to change the channel because the first 22 minutes of the show, that's a half an hour. That's the time you would get a half an hour sitcom without commercials. First 22 minutes of the show. Banger match. Danny Burch and Karrion Kross had one of the stiffest matches I've seen on TV in the past couple weeks. They were banging the crap out of each other. I don't know how Danny Burch still has a neck because Karrion Kross, Saito suplexed him onto it about 4 or 5 times. And it was at the point where I thought they're going to stop this match. they're going to stop this match. And Danny Burch got to his feet just to give the hardest punch I've seen anyone give, and then to be laid out by Karrion Kross. I absolutely loved it. I like that Kross is crushing people, but he isn't like everyone who falls to him in like a Brock Lesnar type way. I'm getting a real Brock Lesnar vibes with Karrion Kross, where he could wreck people, but he still makes them look good even when he beats the snot out of them. Danny Burch looked good when he was in the ring with them. Bronson Reed, who's now in a good position, looked good with him. Karrion Kross doesn't even have a title, and losing to him is probably better for you than defeating him. Think about that. Very few people have that momentum or aura about them in WWE. I absolutely love the confrontation. We get a contract signing. You guys are used to these. I got my old leather envelope here. I'm gonna throw it at you, and you're gonna sign it, and then we're gonna have ourselves a match. We're used to this. We're used to this thing here. But Big Keith Lee came out and called him a bitch. That's the bitch. Robert, that's the hardest word you can say in wrestling right now. When you can start calling people bitches, it's the hardest word.
It's Kevin, the word bitch is the coolest word you can say in wrestling. And it means that shit's got real.
Oh, we're swearing up. We're bad boys tonight. We're real bad boys, Dom. We're so bad boys, dude. We were getting called to Principal Bill's office after this one. And so he gets in the ring, and Karrion Kross kind of splits and walks away with Scarlett, his devil messenger. And she goes to the ring and gets the contract from Big Keith Lee. And he signs it. And he signs it without even looking at her. Signs it, gives her the pen, and then she goes back and looks at it, and she kisses the contract and puts it in the ring. But when she kissed it, she casted a demon siren spell upon the paper. Because when Keith Lee slowly, I was like, why are they dragging this out? Why is Keith Lee staring so long at this envelope? Almost as if he's scared to pick it up. He gave him the contract. What's wrong, Big Keith Lee? You just called this tattooed jerk a bitch. You're Big Keith Lee. You're the NXT champ. Why are you scared? Okay, I'm just going to pick up his contract. Oh, boom! Fireball in the face.
What?
Oh, man. I love this. It looks so cool. It was shot up close. It didn't look like it burned his face, but it looked so awesome. And Keith Lee sold it like he was so goddamn mad. And it was so evil. It was old school wrestling done with a new fun spin. Flash paper out of an envelope. I'm on board. This looked fun. You want to do pre-tape, cut around wrestling and do some fun stuff like this. That's what this was. It was pre-taped. It was cut. And then we went into the commercial break and they went picture in picture and you just didn't feel like you had to, what was going to happen? And then they're going backstage. Is Karrion Kross going to attack him again? And they go right into another match that gets wrecked by the Undisputed Era. That was the first 22 minutes of the show. That's awesome. I just described that in 5 minutes. I couldn't change the channel. Whoever's stepping in with NXT saying we need to pick up the pace, I like it. I'm a fan. So I was a fan. What do you think of this? Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, they literally threw gasoline and fire on this thing here heading into TakeOver.
Lots of Memphis on television tonight. We got Rock and Roll Express. We got fireballs. I'm with it. I like it. Give me more.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anytime you see a fireball in wrestling, it's something that's very rarely played nowadays. So I didn't see it, but sounds pretty cool. And like keeping up with Karrion Kross's dark and Scarlett Bordeaux's dark, vibe that they give off. I think it's a neat little thing to add to the element of their feud with Keith Lee, and just the styles that both of those two bring to the feud itself, I think is pretty darn cool, and it just stand alone. So adding all the extra bells and whistles to this is kind of it's very performance, but that's kind of what wrestling is. So
it is, and it's also one of those things that WWE, when they do it well, they do it
well, it's good stuff.
Yeah, when they do it well, they do it the best. And it's something I think NXT needs more. They need more Gaga. They need more like wild angles and fun things like that. We saw that with Pat McAfee last week. They can, you're going to get banger matches with them. They need those fun like moments, right? And that's a moment. Like Karrion Kross is going to have this forever. Scarlett Bordeaux, she is amazing. She is saying so much with doing so little. I believe I would want her to be the Sister Abigail. You know what I mean? I would want her to be that evil character. She was so compelling in this. I absolutely loved it. It was a very, very, it makes me want to see the match. You know, if it just makes me want to see the match, I'm on board. That man threw fireball in my face. God damn it. You know, like it's old school, baby. I'm on board. All right, but someone's getting the spike to the eye.
Let me note. Fireballs isn't something that have been buried for a very long time because the company I write for, MLW, they did one not too long ago.
So maybe some people in Stanford have been watching some MLW tapes, huh?
Just so you know.
Myron Reed didn't throw a fireball out of the book, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like MLW, but it came out of a book.
Hot fire,
it was like Harry Potter. Yeah, like Harry Potter.
It was a flash fire. It was a flash paper fireball, whatever. Charlie Orr texts the inside. I love the mystique built around Cross. Scarlett compliments him well, and he makes for a great challenger for Keith Lee. Don't deny that at all. Thanks for tuning in, Charlie. I want to get to this question as well. Another big angle on tonight's NXT was the developing scenario around the NXT North American Championship. The main event was another triple threat. This is the final one before they do one next week, where the guys who didn't get pinned or submitted in their triple threat matches get a second shot. One of them will be Finn Balor. He will take on the mystery man who showed up tonight. Robert is not happy about this mystery man that showed up tonight.
He won't be fighting the mystery man that showed up tonight. He's fighting another mystery man.
Okay, he's fighting a separate mystery man.
That's right.
No, at the end of NXT tonight, they made it clear you're getting Finn Balor versus the mystery man who showed up tonight in the main event. Really? Yes, they did. They did this. Yes, they did. This one certainly got a reaction on hashtag WWE NXT tonight.
All right. Let's just go here first. I'm not doing a bit. Fightful Select shocked the hell out of me when they reported Velveteen Dream.
What did I say about plugs?
What did I
say about plugs?
And certainly by the end of the night, Velveteen Dream was actually back. Velveteen Dream is back. Now, Velveteen Dream was away. Things happened. Speaking out movement, he was accused of some things that I will not say on the air. You can Google them. And I asked around a lot. I said, "What's going on with Dream? What are we getting with Dream here?" And I kept getting told, "No answer, no answer."
And we've also asked at WrestleZone for a while with sources we have in the business as well. This isn't something where we haven't done our due diligence. So Velveteen Dream is back on the screen, and we haven't seen him in a while. He was in a main event picture. He was accused of these things before the speaking out movement. It seemed like those were refuted.
They got debunked, kind of.
They got debunked. It was clear that people were kind of like making videos and using clips of his voice from WWE television, and like inserting into things. I've heard a lot of different theories. Yeah. And then we've heard other things in screenshots and all this different stuff.
Yeah. This is super hard to talk about. All right, Velveteen Dream, it's like Velveteen Dream was one of my favorite dudes, like he's super charismatic. I was looking forward to
He had a great match tonight. It was a banger main event. He was
in
with Kushida.
Match, but it's one of those things where do you draw the line? I mean, he was accused of these things. WWE, and I'm going to steal a line from Bill Pritchard actually said this. He said, listen, if he's innocent, at least come out and say that we've done the research. He has been cleared of all these things.
We've done an investigation that we believe would.
Because having him on TV is very uncomfortable.
Without saying he's been vindicated of some form.
Because here's the thing, guys. Matt Riddle's on TV, Dream is on TV, and they're milking the cow a little bit with this. We don't have a live audience to answer to. What are you going to do when there's people back and God knows what is chanted in the direction of Velveteen Dream or Matt Riddle?
I think the circumstance, and mind you, the thing is, we really, with a lot of these speaking out cases, and this is not to take anything away from them. This is, like I said, like with the injuries and different things, we're in this circumstance. It is what it is. This is a court of public opinion more than it is even just a court of real justice now. And so the response to it, I saw some people excited, just a wrestler they haven't seen on TV. They watch TV every week, and he's back. I saw a lot of people very, very angry and calling him very, 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 very disgusting things, which is fine. They're angry. People are going to say mean things. But I do think if they're going to put him on TV, this is a huge company. They did put a lot of time into addressing that issue with NXT UK, where there was a lot of wrestlers accused of some very, very awful things, fired people when they thought it was the right thing to do, looked into other people in investigations. They said they were taking it very, very seriously. Something, Robert, you've talked to people in the industry who are aware of that. The WWE is a huge company that spends a lot of time vetting people to get into the company. But this is not something easy to vet people for. And that is something I've learned from the broadcasting side of things now. The people I work with now are asking, how do we try and find out if someone has done this? How do we do this? There is approach now. And that there's going to be approach clauses now when people sign with big media companies and talent agencies of, can we look at your phone? Can we vet your phone? Can we go through your text messages? Can we look at your social media accounts? I can tell you that specifically with the company, the scale of WWE, not exactly them, but WWE works with the Creative Artists Agency, a huge talent company. They just brought in a big guy from that company to be one of their CFOs. They will vet you like crazy. So I do think they do due diligence to vet these people before they come into the company and see if that is some type of behavior they have to deal with. And I do think they'll try their best to do the due diligence of it. But I also think it is something where if they don't want to have to talk about it unless somebody asks them to, maybe tomorrow morning, maybe in the next few days, we will get a comment from WWE as to what
I think they need to break tradition here and put out a real
put it out first.
They need to put out a real statement about.
But that would have spoiled the wrestling surprise, right?
I mean, yes, it would have. But now that the wrestling surprise is out there and Dream is back, you need to get out in front of this thing, because this isn't 1993 with Jerry Lawler. This is like a time where everything is public and everything is, shoot first, ask questions, maybe never, and we don't know. And it's just a very scary thing, because you don't want to lose yourself. And, well, I'm just happy he's back because I like Dream. If he did what he was accused of, then no, I don't want him back. But at the same time, I don't want this thing to follow him around if they've all done the due diligence. That being said, we know that even if they came out with a statement from the FBI saying he's clear, people still feel the way they feel, and that's not fair to the guys. It's not fair to a guy like Matt Riddle, where he's saying, like, I haven't been charged with anything. I've had to go to do the legal recourse. Yeah. I've had to go do these things. I haven't been charged with anything. And this is a woman who's I have a restraining order against. His case is different. Like, a lot of people went off and on. And I was like, if you do a little bit of reading into this is something he told them about 4 years ago when they signed him. The thing is, we now enter a life where you are no longer living just your life. You are living in the public eye. You are as in the public eye as a Kim Kardashian or the president of the United States or anybody. Like, we are all.
That's an insane 2020 sentence.
I don't think it's an inaccurate one either. Like, you are in the public eye. If somebody decides that you are quote unquote canceled for whatever reason, then guess what? You have a real hard time with stuff.
I have banged the gavel with my Twitter feed, Robert. That is what we're doing now, right? Dom, you want to chime in here? This is an odd scenario. Banger match, fun triple threat. I was surprised that they went with Velveteen Dream in this circumstance. Certainly a big way to bring him back, but they didn't go with him winning. Cameron Grimes? Cameron Grimes is surprising, because Cameron Grimes was getting squashed by Keith Lee a few weeks ago. Gets in this match with the returning Kushida. I actually thought this was Kushida's match to win, no matter who walked out and entered into this match, because Kushida's a huge star from Japan. And the weird thing is, where are we going with this? This is gonna be odd that they're going in this direction here. DJ Cassier is texting in. Who could you see winning more? Who could you see winning the North American title more? Because they did all these triple threats over the last couple weeks, and they're gonna get all these guys into the big ladder match, which I love, because that first time ladder match they did to crown the first North American champion was really fun. A 5-star classic from Big Papa Dave Meltzer. Who do you think is going to be a more compelling challenger, potential champion? Cameron Grimes or Bronson Reed? Two very fresh faces in NXT.
I think, both have gotten really good praise amongst, fans and, analysts and everything like that. I think Cameron Grimes would be the way to roll, because
he's
what you
he's
did
just
about-
a shit talking heel, dude.
shit talking heel.
Yeah.
Talking heel. Plus, you have like just his ability to get guys over, but the ability if he's somebody that you're chasing after and that you're just like that's stuck in your craw that you want. Oh man, I want to see that belt get off that guy. I hate that son of a bitch. Like that's what you want to have. So to have that is that would almost be another old school kind of throwback for NXT to do. Fireballs. Cameron Grimes, it goes all together, I would say. I think, putting the belt on him, I think would be much more intriguing. And having a big dude, even like Bronson Reed, chase after, it's a nice little feud that you could get brewing happening there too, I would say.
I agree. Very fun night for a lot of different storylines with the women. Rhea Ripley came to the saving after a big tag team match with Robert Stone's Mercedes Martinez and Aaliyah defeating a team here. And Rhea Ripley got out in the ring, got right in the mix there. And it looks like we have a compelling scene here. Shotzi Blackheart has been laid out by the Robert Stone brand is there too. Could be a tag team match, but really Mercedes Martinez, big time monster, came in, 20-year vet. They made her look like a throat cutter when she came out here and has been laying out people like crazy, almost to the point where she wanted Aaliyah to get out of the ring, like during the tag team match. I thought that was kind of neat. And I like this. I think Rhea Ripley, Mercedes Martinez, real good chemistry. Just like one of those matches where on paper, you're like, I want that. I want to see that match like right away. Just like you want to see MJF versus Mox. Like, oh, this is perfect. Like two great players. I think that's a compelling scenario in the undercard for NXT. Other things that are brewing for them. Interesting thing. Have a question about this. Retribution. Retribution is this kind of Antifa-inspired riotous group that has been trying to turn off the power, throwing Molotov cocktails, take out chainsaws, and cutting the ropes on SmackDown. They've attacked Raw. They've attacked SmackDown. But this mysterious group, Robert, has not touched NXT. I give you the magnifying glass, Robert. Detective DeFelice, you're on the case.
I'll take the magnifying glass and tell you that that's because NXT's doing okay. We need to boost those main roster numbers. I don't know who's in Retribution. They're all about my size, so maybe I've been moonlighting wearing a ski mask. I just listen. I just made the joke. They are like my size. Like I'm not saying that being on the smaller side of things is wrong, but these dudes just look so small. I don't get it.
Well, I do have a little bit more clarity on that. We've heard quite a bit that the people performing as the Retribution completely masked, attacking some people. They haven't attacked any like main roster people. They've attacked like cameramen and people at ringside and stuff like that. They smashed a window. They flipped over a car off camera. So they've done all these things, and people are compelled to find out who they are. Wrestling fans love themselves a masked man mystery, and that's what we're getting here, a modern version of that. While they're next thing we know, they're going to rob the gift shop at the Performance Center, right? And so we have a lot of people wanting to know who these people are, and a lot of theories are coming out, and we can line up two names that seem to for sure be associated with this group, and we haven't seen on TV in quite some time, and they come from NXT, and that would be Donovan Dijakovic and Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa and
one of those
Dijakovic
dudes look like they're the size of Dominic Dijakovic. I'm being like, that's not one of those dudes is not Dijak. Now, granted, they could always put different people in the deal, but like, I think, and I'm gonna just fantasy book with me for a second. I think it's some of all the dudes. Yeah. Like, I think it's some guys from Evolve, maybe AR Fox, maybe Leon Ruff, maybe Leo Rush. Now, we've talked a lot about people who have been fired. Maybe it's them. Now, Leo Rush has tweeted a lot of things against WWE. He fits the size. He
also fits the billing as a guy who got let go during the
looking
pandemic,
for some retribution. We know that.
I don't think it'll be one type of guy. I don't think it'll be like, everyone represents. It'll be people that come to the group with their own beef, their own individual things. I am still on board with this. Dom, I know you're not. I'm going to have you follow up with this. You're shaking your head here. No, I saw your tweet. Your petty Petty tweet.
Petty,
This
that's
tweet,
not petty. That's accurate.
Oh, it was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, dude. Okay? This was Petty, all right? This was running down a train, Tom Petty, okay? Because you said that Santana and Ortiz on AEW have caused more terror to the best friends and attacked that dude's car. But that's like saying an active storyline I'm seeing move faster. Everything I'm getting from Retribution is like what the Dark Order was doing before we found out who they actually were and what they were actually doing. This is all a tease before the real foot drops and we find out who these guys are, what they want to do. It's just a tease. These are vignettes that are performed live. I don't get the impression that we're going to find out anything about these guys until either right before SummerSlam or right after. So comparing it to something that's like an active storyline. Also, Retribution has cost people titles. They've cost people titles, all right? I'm also more compelled with it. Another thing, you want to compare this to the Dark Order? Want to start doing those weird out there comparisons? The Dark Order, it is not working, all right? We got guys picking titles out of the trash right now, all right? You got dudes who are putting their mask on before they get in the ring. I think
that's cool. I think it's
lame. I don't want to know who you are. You're supposed to be masked men. If you're going to reveal your mask, the mask stays off. Okay? Come on.
We know who they are, though. We know who they are. Here's the thing.
Keep the mask on. You'll feel you're dangerous.
Here's the thing.
Come on with that. Dom.
The execution of Dark Order initially was bad. And follow through months on end, it's been not good. Coming past few weeks, they've really started to pick it up and establish like Brody Lee and certain personas in that group. Thing with Retribution here was Vince McMahon throwing a Hail Mary and putting something out there where, okay, we need to get these ratings going. So let's get this. What's a better way to do that than have like an invasion of these unknown rebellious people? We don't know who they are yet. I don't think Vince knows who they are yet. And I don't think Vince even has a plan
and I don't think that's problem.
What their motives are and who these people are going to be.
Yeah, but Robert, I don't think, excuse me, Dom, I don't think us having to know who they are right now, I think we know who the critical players are.
I don't think we do. I honestly don't.
I don't think we need to know. Why do we need to know? Why do we?
There's only so much you can do. So you have this opportunity to introduce a new faction. Sure. And this is it. And so your initial impressions are these guys are doing some Riot Squad shit where they're like spray painting a door or shoving boxes over. It's just like little rinky-dink bullshit where they're throwing like a cinder block through. Oh my God, holy shit, settle down, guys. It's like, and
wrestlers who are getting terrorized by them. Dom, wrestlers are getting terrorized by them. Are going to call it rinky-dink bullshit. And then they're going to do something that isn't rinky-dink. They're just trying to get some attention. It's like a whiny kid. That's what they are. They're whiny kids who didn't get what they wanted.
That's not scary. That's not intimidating. Whiny kids. That's not.
It's disruptive.
It's disruptive. It's like, okay, well, you're suspended. That's what it looks like. You're getting the principal's office.
They're bad boys doing bad stuff. The thing is, Dark Order was supposed to be scary, and they're not scary.
They weren't. They're getting better though, and I think you have size. You have somebody like
you're picking belts out of the trash.
You have a great tag team that's getting established more. So is Stu Grayson.
I think
Evil Uno.
I think I can provide some levity in this situation, gentlemen.
Let's hear it.
They're both pretty damn bad.
Fuck you, Devilis. You turned on both of us.
All right. Listen. Let's go with the facts here, gentlemen. Let's
get back in your hamster ball. Get back in your hamster ball. Roll down the hill.
Let's go with what we know. The Dark Order started out as Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, and this is going to be the biggest thing ever because it's the Young Bucks, it's the tag team division. Chris Jericho said on his own podcast with Dr. Luther, the Japanese deathmatch legend, that
well-known Japanese deathmatch.
Well-known. The Dark Order needed a leader, and they wanted they being the Young Bucks, pronouns pal, wanted Marty Scurll, and Jericho pitched Dr. Luther. And they had pitched some other names as well, and it landed on Brody Lee. It was going to be Matt Hardy because that was a thing, but they had to swerve the internet. But it ended up being Brody Lee. So we know that they're just getting their shit together with the Dark Order now.
Yeah.
And I like Brody Lee as character. But we've had some hiccups along the way with the Dark Order. Now, Retribution, I don't think it's necessarily too far gone yet.
No, it isn't.
I will say that when you have the riots and you have them hit the arena, and they're just being a little too geeky. They need to take off a little of the geeky. Yeah, look at what we're doing, and I get what they're doing.
I agree. They did do a little bit too much of the geeky stuff tonight.
Let's call a spade a spade. We know who's on top of WWE. We're not breaking any fourth wall here. Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, other names such as that. I don't know if they have their finger on the pulse of what is actually happening in the country, and they're portraying what they see, and I don't blame them for that. They're portraying a bunch of angry kids being like, we're causing chaos, yeah!
Youth Gone Wild, dude, Skid Row, great song. I mean, it's an old song that's playing again here in real life. I don't blame them for trying to do something that mirrors what's going on in society.
I don't blame them either.
What is the biggest thing? Dom, Robert, you saw this. We put something out there. Just sometimes we'll do this fun thing of like, hey, make a faction. We'll do this on social media. Like, give us 4 guys like this and make an evolution. Make a new evolution. Make a new 4 horsemen. And we said, make a new Nation of Domination. And it got over 150,000 impressions on Twitter alone. Just Twitter. All right. And people wanted a new nation. They wanted a new Nation of Domination. They wanted a faction that represented modern social justice issues. And that was something people were actually saying to us, you know? And so I don't blame them for saying, let's try and do that. But then they go and do it. And it's like, look at WWE trying to gaslight people by doing this.
Because here's why. Because they feel insulted. Yeah. They feel insulted. They feel like we're in a real crisis and the world is really burning. And here's this old boomer, because that's what we call people boomers now. And here's Vince McMahon, who's a boomer, who's just portraying this as a bunch of scrawny kids who don't know what they're doing. Now, keep the chainsaw, lose the pop after you chainsaw the ropes down. I like what they're doing. I like the fact that they're
you know what? That did look cool, though. I don't know why I just liked someone chainsawing ropes. It just looked fun. I don't know what it is. It's like stupid when you were a kid and you would throw a beer bottle in like an alley or something like that. It just looks fun. I don't know why. I'm dumb. I'm still 15.
The thing with you got the comparison with the Antifa and all that.
Sure. Yeah.
People are trying to and it's a very divisive topic to have. And you know, WWE tends to kind of execute these angles when they want to make it newsworthy in a lot of poor fashion and poor taste. And this is not, it doesn't benefit either side. Like if you're somebody that is more so on the side of the protests and for that, it's a very touchy subject for that. And then you have the other impressions of the over 50 demographic or who it may be, necessarily maybe not feeling that way or seeing certain things and watching a certain news network that gives them a different vibe of it all, where it's just like there's no benefit to have this kind of angle going on at this moment in time when a lot of viewers are maybe tuning into wrestling for some sort of escape from some of this stuff. And the execution that WWE has done with this Retribution thing, I think has been kind of bullshit. So it's just like...
Now, I will give you the counterpoint here and say a lot of people also want something that feels topical.
Yeah, and is reflective. Not just
you can't give them topical and then give them, we're not happy with your portrayal of what we perceive as this. Now, here are some ways you can save this. You put Mustafa Ali in the group. Mustafa Ali can do it. You put Sami Zayn as the leader of this thing. Sami Zayn can give it to you.
It also reeks of a lot of Sami Zayn.
It reeks of a lot of Sami Zayn.
It lines up perfectly with the type of stuff he was talking about before.
But here's the money. You want to take all of this and make it sound like we had it planned all along, even if you didn't? One of the girls is Naomi. And you've got some money on your hands.
I think that just those names you lined up there, Tommaso Ciampa, Donovan Dijakovic, Sami Zayn, all right? You got a big heater, big heavyweight. You got a dynamic female superstar people have loved for a long time that doesn't feel like she's getting what she wants, Naomi. You bring in Mustafa Ali, guy feels like people aren't giving him what he wants, right? You bring in Sami Zayn, guy who lost his title, didn't lose his title, didn't want to come and defend it under the circumstances, now comes back. You have some other names you can put in there, but those 4 names right there you mentioned, all of them sound really cool. The thing I do like about it is they're introducing it not just dudes, there's women involved in it too. And I get the impression that I want to see it play out first. I want the reveal. I haven't gotten the reveal yet. And the reveal will be important. They are building up, though, expectations. And I see more fans asking who these guys are, not what they are. And that works then for me, because then they care about the characters and they care about the consequences and they care about the stakes. I also think we live in an age where everyone wants to say, WWE didn't get me. They didn't get me. AEW didn't get me. I knew this was going to happen. I'm a hardcore fan. I saw this. I watched this video that told me this thing. Like, no one wants to get caught being worked anymore. And I think this is another
that is
indication.
literally the state of our news media.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wrestling's supposed to work you, and no one wants to get worked anymore. So it's hard like that, you know. But puppet my tears here, guys. We've gone nearly 90 minutes. We had a hell of a banger show.
Gentlemen, I would talk with you for hours on end. It's always a good time.
I love this. This is the best. This is the best 3-way setup we think we have in the show sometimes. Nothing against anyone else on the show, but a triple threat of nerddom for sure. Dominic, we'll have an episode of 2 Dynamite Dudes coming up on Friday, but I don't have a hat on. Let me just put a hat on, because I have to put this hat on just to tip the cap to you, sir. Banger interviews recently, an hour-plus long discussion with the toughest Texan who's ever come out of Texas. Terry Funk. This conversation with Terry Funk was amazing. You want to talk about the culture, the life, living wrestling with every ounce of your body, you get it from Terry Funk. This is a must listen to conversation. For younger wrestling fans, you've heard the name, who is this guy? You will hear some amazing stories in this interview and get an incredible insight into someone who is really one of the foundations of what wrestling is now. A guy who came from the complete territory era through the Monday Night Wars and played all of those and became a WWE Hall of Famer in the process. Just an absolute banger interview, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely the top interview I think I've ever done, like, so far starting off. Like, I never expected I would talk to a legend like Terry Funk and get to talk to him for that long about, like, it all covers his 2005 autobiography, More Than Just Hardcore. So I use that as a platform to discuss things with him, and we cover so much ground. And yet, like you said, Terry has done so much different things for the industry and laid so much different aspects of the business out for what it is today, and even just gives so much forethought to even how he thinks the business is developing and where it's going to go. And even from this book that's 15 years old at this point in time, it still reflects so true of what's happening today. He even mentioned, like, I didn't even say this in the interview or mention this, but like at the end of the book, he mentioned how wrestling will get back to almost like a realistic, like, kind of shoot almost thing. And look at what we just saw a couple weeks ago with what Raw tried to do with Raw Underground.
And AEW's doing that with sports rules and different things with rings.
Exactly. So it's just like Terry's just he knows the business. He had so much influence on the business. It was amazing to speak to.
Dog. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna come down there. I'm gonna brand you.
It's really an education too for a lot of wrestlers that are trying to get into the business. The book, the interview, like I just hope a lot of people get to listen to it and get a lot from it, because I certainly did. I was on cloud 9 for it. So.
And I know a lot of the people who consume our show get it first, maybe on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that too. It is available there as well. So if you are looking for it, you don't want to just do the podcast thing, it's available there as well. We also just dropped an interview with Ariane Andrew. You may know her as Cameron from Total Divas, just appeared in the Deadly Draw tournament for AEW. Got a big reaction for us on social media recently. Go check out that interview, especially for the Total Diva fans. I know they were very much in the idea of us doing that interview. Robert, we do have some people following your questions on the hamster ball. Want to know if you will appear on the show. show in the future in a hamster ball?
Guys, if I
Yes
can
or
get
no?
my hands on a hamster ball, I would. Why the hell not? Like the world's ending.
Love it. Yes.
The world's
Robert,
ending.
you and I have been doing the show now together for more than 2 years, and we were supposed to do WrestleMania this year. And I said I wanted to go do a bunch of fun, ridiculous Florida things with you outside of wrestling.
I think now we're gonna do it on hamster wheel. I
wanted you to bring me to like one of those gator farms or something like that.
Ooh, yeah.
And you're just like, dude, like that's so corny. I was like, I'm in Florida, dude. Come on. I want to see a messed out reptile. And you were like, oh, whatever. But now I think I know what I want to do. I think I want to see you in a hamster ball.
Do you think we can do Disney in a hamster ball?
If we can do all of Disney in a hamster ball,
Yeah.
we're like
just enough for a vlog for the YouTube
I'm
channel.
sorry. Could you, sir? I'm gonna put my credit card out, and then you give me the credit card back, and then just shove the churros through the tube.
That's right.
And back in. All right,
God.
I'm going down Main Street now. I gotta go check out the next Magic Kingdom thing.
I think the best thing about what we do is we have fun, Kevin.
Yeah.
And I have fun across the board in wrestling media. I mean, I already mentioned I was a guest on the Rest Friends podcast. Great production. Raiden Fiera has been on this very show. So is Teddy Chavez. Did fantastic things. I am not kidding when I say they're going to blow up. Get on the hype train before it leaves the station.
Get on it early.
They're doing
on it
some
early.
good stuff.
Their show is one of those things where when I first heard it and saw it, they do videos and they do podcasts as well. I was like, this is cool. Like, because it was like a completely different approach to how to look at wrestling and how to take it in. And I like the perspective. It was one of those things where it's like, yeah, I want to hear what somebody who isn't me has to say. And I absolutely get it from them. And they know it. This isn't just like, hey, let's see somebody who doesn't know. No, they absolutely know everything.
And when I was there, they taught me a lot about AEW heels and some of the things that you might not know that have been talked about in those meetings. And I was blown away, and I think you should go listen. It's a good time. We talk about Jericho and Fozzy playing in the pandemic. It's just a great discussion had all around. Of course, that'd be Smart Out moment. We just recorded a podcast that was far too long regarding the
like
top 30 names in NXT.
We're now at the 92-minute mark. We are now at the 92-minute mark.
Damn.
You stopped listening 45 minutes ago. But thank you so much for
it. To the diehards who have listened to us for 92 minutes, we love you.
I'm seeing a couple dozen still with us in the live stream. God bless you guys. I want to say it. I know there's a lot of options. There's a lot more people producing podcasts. There's a lot more options to watch them, take them in. I deeply appreciate the people that are doing that.
One of the other people you could watch is Sean Ross at the Fightful.com. I also work for Fightful.com. Sean works very hard. Sean does a lot of things that I think if you understood how much work, not only from Sean, but from everybody here at WrestleZone, if you understood the work that goes into Dominic D'Angelo's interviews, if you understood the work that goes into Bill Pritchard's time spent at WrestleZone, what Sean does, what Kevin does. Kevin's got the worst job of them all. He's got to do all social media. I don't want to be Kevin. You know, like
I got to see so many. I got to see so many not hot takes.
He has to feel all of your crazy takes. I don't want to be that guy, but it's a hardworking industry, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And guys, I just have a damn good time. And Dominic, I'm not kidding. Should you ever get on the phone with Jim Cornette, I will be on that call. I'm putting it out here in public so that it's said.
It interviewed Corny last year before C2E2. It is available in our podcast feed. Just go Google Jim Cornette WrestleZone. It'll pop up. And I spoke to Jim Cornette for 35 minutes. I believe I spoke for all of the 4 of those minutes. We spoke a lot, so definitely go check out the interviews. We have a lot of content you guys can go through that isn't just topical in the last 72, 48 hours of wrestling that you guys can go burn out. Evergreen stuff, those interviews. Chris Jericho, John Moxley spoke to us recently. The Von Erichs. We're also available in podcast audio form on Spotify, so go check it out. Follow the show. If you have friends that don't want to watch a video, don't want to watch Facebook, that's a great way to get them onto it. That's all we ask. There is no Patreon. There is no paywall to what we're doing. You don't see huge sponsors. But at the same time, we're all working. This is a job. Like, I aggravate my roommates and people I live with and people in my life. They're like, why can't you do this? Why can't you meet up? I was like, guys, we got to find out who this Retribution group is. And this is a serious day at the office.
You know, Yeah,
It's,
and sometimes it's
retribution.
hard for people to understand, but it's serious business. It is a job, and it's just a good time.
So thank you guys so much for supporting the show. If you're with us here, Facebook, YouTube, podcast, anywhere, thank you so much. Wherever you are, we hope you're staying safe. We hope you're washing your hands, wearing that face mask when you're out, so that when we're back at WrestleMania, we're all just crying tears because we're able to see live pro wrestling again. When we're back at the Double or Nothing next summer and we lost all our money on the tables, and then we go into the wrestling match and we can't buy a beer, but we don't care because we're seeing live wrestling again. Because guess what? Humanity gave a good old big boot body slam. 1, 2, 3, Larietto. Look at the lights. Get the fuck out, COVID-19. All right, because that's what we're looking for, and we're rooting for all those people making vaccines and all that good stuff and doing the good fight. The nurses, the doctors, the firemen, the police officers, everybody who has to tell us to put our masks on when we forget about it, like that kid at the grocery store I saw the other day. Keep doing the good fight. Keep it up, and we'll be back with more next time on WrestleZone. Robert, tell them what they got.